This is Akashvani. Time for a weekly program, Our Guest. I hand over the mic to the show host, Nitish Arora, for the same.
Come winters in India and the shutter-happy photographers throng the wetlands to take photographs of our winged guests, the migratory birds. Rajat Sethi is one such enthusiastic bird watcher who has many tales to share. And for a change this time, I chased him to one such location to talk about his adventures with the migratory birds. Rajat ji, welcome to Our Guest, and please let's know more from you about the various places you have visited to click photographs of migratory birds. Rajat ji, first introduce yourself. How are you associated with birds? When and how your love for birds started?
Nitish ji, actually started 20 years back. I had a very dear friend of mine who was my neighbor, who was a very well-known birder. One day he just told me कि भाई आप चलो मेरे साथ, we'll go for birding. I said, but birds, मैंने तो कभी कोई interest नहीं सोचा था birds के बारे में. But I went with him for birding, and believe me, it was a fascinating world. I got so hooked on to birding because if you really observe birds carefully, you will see the kind of variety that you have in birds, the amount of commonality in terms of how protective they are about their families. It's so interesting to observe when you actually get interested. So that's how my love for birding started. And then of course slowly I got into bird photography because I wanted to capture and retain my memory of these birds. So it started from there, and it's been 20 years now, and I've been photographing birds for these many years.
And I understand that you are part of a society, the Bird Society of Delhi, I guess.
Yes, so we have a very active Delhi Bird Society. It was founded by a dear friend called Nikhil Devasar, and now we have a very, very large membership base. We organize birding trips, birding walks. Now, in fact, we have so many youngsters who are also interested in bird photography and in birding. And we have a very active group, and most weekends we generally go out to wetlands near Delhi, NCR, and we have many youngsters and children who come along. So that really I feel extremely happy about the fact that even the younger generation is now getting interested in birds, and it's not as we typically think for old people birding, but it's also for youngsters.
So what all places that you have visited actually to watch the birds, and what were your experiences?
So, as a birder, we are a little crazy. When we hear about a bird, we want to see. So irrespective of where the bird is found and observed, it could be any part of India, we travel and see those birds. Personally, for example, in North India, I've traveled to Ladakh just to see a bird called the black-necked crane. They migrate from Tibetan plateau and come to India. In Desert National Park in Rajasthan, I've been fortunate enough to see the Great Indian Bustard. It's one of the most endangered species in the world, and very few left. But I was fortunate to see it. I've been to Arunachal in the northeast to just see one bird called the Mishmi wren babbler. I've been to Assam to see the Sultan tit and the Baikal teal. In the east, I've been to Sundarbans to see a variety of kingfishers. It's an amazing variety of kingfishers that you see, be it the brown-winged, the black-capped, the collared, or the ruddy. To the borders of Gujarat, just to see one bird, border of Pakistan, called the grey hypocoleus, which migrates from Afghanistan and Pakistan to India just for a short period of time, just across the border, and then goes back. So, we went to photograph that bird. So, it's just, if you are passionate about birding, you really get involved in this, and what I feel is that I see places which otherwise I would never go to. Like I would never go to the border towns of Gujarat as a tourist, but as a birder, I will definitely go and venture out there. So it's interesting for all of us.
This year, it happens to be the theme is our relationship with the migratory birds. So you were telling me about a place which is actually laying the carpet of food for the winged pilgrims.
Yes, in fact, this is a very, very small village in Rajasthan. Village name is Khichan. It's near Jodhpur. We went there because we heard that there are thousands of migratory demoiselle cranes which come there every year without fail. So my wife and I, we took a trip down out there, and it was an amazing sight. I have never seen the number of cranes at one point in time. There were almost 15 to 20,000 cranes flocking all together, and it is all thanks to the efforts of the villagers of Kitchen. It's basically a Jain village, and a Jain family started putting out grain for these cranes when they used to come. A few cranes used to come, and they started putting out grain. Slowly and slowly, as the years passed by, more and more cranes started coming, and now it is an unbelievable sight out there, because almost 15 to 20,000 cranes come every year. They fly all the way from Siberia and Mongolia. They fly at a height of 15 to 20,000 feet, and they come here during winters, because for them this is a wintering stopover before they move on in their migration path. It's amazing. I mean, the villagers are so dedicated to these cranes. They lay out tons and tons of grain on their fields and on the floor, and there's a designated areas now where they lay out these grains, and the birds come, feed out there. They fly off to the wetland in the afternoon, then they come back again in the evening to feed in this village, and they go back. And then they carry on the regular flight. But what is amazing is how every year without fail, imagine 15 to 20,000 cranes coming to this one small village in a small part of India, and how they're able to figure it out is absolutely unbelievable and, mind-boggling to the human brain.
Place that 99% of Indians might not be aware of, but these Siberian cranes coming all the way from Mongolia and Siberia, they know about this particular place. Dot and reach here every year, year after year.
Absolutely. I think it's a combination of the fact that I think these, unlike what we think, birds have a very strong sense of direction and flight paths. I don't know if you're aware of the fact that, why migratory birds fly when they're flying across oceans and, continents. They fly in a V formation, because after some time, the bird that is leading this flock of birds gets tired, so then it moves back in its position in the V formation, and someone else takes its place, another bird. And this is how they carry on and on for thousands and thousands of kilometers, just because sometimes it's to do with the weather, because they want to come to warmer climes, sometimes to do with breeding. They want to go back to their places where they breed. It could also be due to availability of food some places, because as you know, cultivation is going widespread, and areas for them to actually flock together and breed and eat is reducing.
So you almost brought in that point which I actually wanted to take up now, because every village, every town and every place on earth is not like Kitchen. In fact, the name also says that there is some attraction. This is Kitchen. If Hindi, Kheenchna is the pull. But what are the challenges that these migratory birds are now facing at many places?
I think the biggest challenge in India is our shrinking wetlands. How do we ensure that we preserve and conserve areas where birds can actually come to breed? In fact, because of mass development, construction activities, the areas that are available for birds is reducing. So I think one of our biggest challenges is that how do we ensure and protect these wetlands, which are very few now.
You spoke about one aspect. You said that birds from Afghanistan, they come to Pakistan and to a point, and just for a few hours, and you went there to see them. So they don't need any visa, they do not mind any borders. Have you ever thought that why are we not like birds?
Absolutely. I mean, they have no sense of borders. And the thing is that hum log hi borders create karte hain. In fact, for birds, I mean, for them, if it's Pakistan or whether it is in India across the border, it doesn't matter. And birds travel everywhere, from China to India, from various places. But I think we humans are the ones at fault. I mean, we create all these artificial borders and artificial lines and divisions. For birds, it's a borderless society. I mean, it's totally borderless. And that's really the nature of birds.
So it's time for us, the humans, to learn from birds, or the birds should learn something from us. Is there anything from us to be given to these birds, or we need to take all the lessons?
No, I think absolutely. We call ourselves more, intelligent and of higher intellect as humans than anyone else. But I think we have to learn more from birds. How to protect your near and dear ones. How to ensure that that you don't pollute places. Have you ever seen, for example, it's a mystery, but I don't know if you've ever noticed that, have you ever seen any bird dying a natural death? It's amazing. If you see in our area, in Delhi NCR, wherever, there's no place where they come and say, okay, this is the place where we will pass away or whatever. But it's just nature. It's something which many people have been intrigued about and, try to research. But if you think about it, have you ever seen an old bird die somewhere where you have seen the bird. I mean, it's very rare. Either the bird is, attacked or, eaten or whatever or killed. But otherwise, in a natural process, you will never observe a bird dying. So I don't know what happens, where they go, what happens, but it's a mystery.
Now, Rajatji, tell us, because you have seen a lot of places where these migratory birds are coming, and you've also quoted the example of Rajasthan, the Kitchen village. How can we create more such societies where the bird-friendly societies, bird-friendly areas, where they should be naturally coming? In the NCR, if we talk about Delhi and NCR, and perhaps in many other high-rise buildings are there, people are now actually using nets to protect their flats from pigeons. So the pigeon nets are actually creating such a big hurdle to these poor pigeons which belong to that place. We don't belong to that place. So how can we create such societies wherein there is love for birds?
One of the most important things is that we need to create green belts around our cities. And the more green belts we create, green areas we create, be it parks, doesn't matter, be it ponds, lakes, whatever, but we must ensure that those are maintained and we have green belts. Because once there are green belts, then birds will not come to the buildings. They will come and they have enough and more to do and to feed upon in these green belts. So number one, I feel that's important. I think the other thing, of course, is very interesting is that even things like when you construct a building, now it's inevitable you will construct buildings, but when you construct buildings, the glass that most offices use are these reflective glasses. So when the bird comes, they think that this is actually a tree or a clear passage or a sky, but it's actually not. And they come and hit the glass and die. So again, if you are conscious about it or you're eco-conscious, then you should be able to create buildings with non-reflective glass. It's a small effort and it wouldn't cost much, but it's a huge impact on bird life. I think the other is, of course, that, if we can create like we are doing for elephants, we create corridors for elephants across highways and across jungles. If we can just in cities, in urban areas, create green corridors, linking parks, gardens, water bodies to form a continuous flight path, that will help a lot as well. Growing and planting flowering trees and fruiting trees. Birds love to pollinate on flowers and they love to eat fruits. So if you can grow more fruiting trees and flowering trees,
not
that
just
will help.
exotic decorative.
Precisely. Limit the use of pesticides and chemicals because obviously that harms the birds. And I think small efforts like, for example, installing bird feeders at home. Just encouraging your neighbors and your friends and family to buy bird feeders. I mean, they cost nothing virtually. But to keep a bird feeder in the house during the summer months, just keep a small bowl of water just to ensure that birds have a place where they can come and drink water because they are parched absolutely in summers. We don't realize. They don't complain. They have no voice to complain. But that's the least we can do is just put a small bowl of water outside. So that will help again. Involving school kids and youngsters in your family to participate in bird watching, to participate in ensuring that how do you clean the habitat around, that will help. And I have seen this. We have many youngsters who are so passionate about birding. And I think it's a great thing because they are one with nature when they come to bird. So just to encourage them to go outdoors, not sit in front of the television or computer, but to go outdoors and appreciate flora and the fauna is an amazing thing. And I think that's something which we as families and parents should encourage. And finally, I feel that, sometimes we are in our passion, even birders, I have noticed that, when we are passionate about photography, we will sometimes invade the privacy of birds when we go very close to the nest where the birds are nesting. And I have seen photographs of people taking photographs of chicks, very, very young chicks, who are just born in the nest. And what they don't realize is that this absolutely disrupts the family life of the bird. And sometimes the parents abandon those birds, those chicks, because of the human invasion into their privacy. But we maintain a certain amount of distance between the birds where they are nesting and ourselves. So there are areas like Okhla Bird Sanctuary in Noida, there is Sultanpur Bird Sanctuary in Haryana, there is Najafgarh Jheel in Delhi, Dhanori Wetland near Noida, Yamuna Biodiversity Park, Chandu, Asola Bhatti areas in Faridabad. These are all areas where there is an amazing amount of avian life which you can see. So I would encourage our listeners to please make a little effort once to come out. And all you need in terms of investment is a binocular and a bird field guide. And that's all it requires. Don't require fancy cameras or anything to begin with, and you'll be amazed at how passionate you'll become as a bird watcher. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rajat.
You were listening to the weekly program Our Guest that is broadcast every Monday at 9:15 a.m. Don't forget to tune in next week, same day, same time and same frequency for more on Our Guest. Have a nice day.